Vice Mayor McKee.
Here.
Mayor Moeller.
Here. Thank you. Can we all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you for that. And I'd like to ask for a motion to adopt today's agenda, and we'll have a voice vote for this.
Move adoption of today's agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? That passes unanimously. And now it's council member announcements. Anybody have any announcements they would like to make before we get started? No? Okay, we'll just keep moving. Next, we have a proclamation to recognize that this October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And Jen Abram, are you here? Can you meet me at the podium?
I'm Tracy
Oh, Tracy. I mean, I have my wrong glasses on. Great, thank you.
Good to see you, too. My son lives in Yountville, and I said, oh, I could go visit him and
You
then
can.
come at the same time, so that's why I'm here.
Great, perfect. Perfect. So this is a proclamation for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is October 2025. Whereas News, Domestic Violence and Sexual Abuse Services, is commemorating 44 years of service to survivors of domestic violence in Napa County, having opened the first confidential safe house on October the 5th, 1981, and began providing safety to those escaping abuse. And whereas every year since 1989, the United States Congress has proclaimed October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, renewing our country's commitment to standing against domestic violence and meeting the needs of survivors. And whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month is about raising awareness and uplifting the needs, voices, and experiences of survivors. This year's national campaign of, quote, "With survivors always," end quote, calls on us to explore what it means to be in partnership with survivors towards safety, support, and solidarity. And whereas domestic violence is a public health concern that impacts the well-being and success of individual community members, as well as the community as a whole. In year 2024-2025, News assisted nearly 1,700 survivors who were experiencing domestic violence and sexual assault, and served 4 clients from the town of Yountville, including children. The News helpline received 4 calls for assistance from Yountville residents. Clients from Yountville received emergency assistance and crisis intervention services, including food, clothing, financial assistance, court advocacy and accompaniment, including help preparing and filing restraining orders, and support from our domestic violence response team for after-hours crisis response. And whereas, by observing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we show that our community is committed to supporting survivors and working towards the prevention of domestic violence among future generations. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that I, Margie Moeller, Mayor of the Town of Yountville, along with the Town Council, do hereby proclaim October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Napa County, and encourage all residents of Yountville to honor domestic violence survivors and those who serve them during this month and throughout the year. Thank you very much
Thank you
for
very much, Mayor
coming.
Moeller.
Would you like to say a few
I would
words?
love to.
Oh,
Thank you.
wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you to the town of Yountville and to our council members. On behalf of News, I would like to thank the town of Yountville for recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I know that was a lot of words for you to read through, but I do think that those words really mean something and they're very important. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. This year's campaign, as we said, calls for us to stand with survivors always, to explore what it means to be true partners to survivors in their pursuit for safety, support, and solidarity. We recognize that survivors in the LGBTQ+ community and the immigrant communities are facing escalating threats and fears for their safety, whether it's at work or at school or when attempting to seek vital services like news. They may be afraid to come forward. So we ask that you join us in caring for all survivors and help us by sending the message that it is safe to seek supportive services from News. Our services are 100% confidential. All survivors are welcome, and we will not share their information with anyone or any agency without written informed consent. Our services are free and voluntary. This past year in our county, we have suffered some terrible losses as a result of domestic violence. Some horrific things have happened, and luckily, we're not so used to that, but this year has been particularly rough. And so in honor of those we lost and all survivors, News will be hosting a candlelight vigil on October 23rd at 6 p.m. at Veterans Memorial Park. And you can take action and send a message that survivors matter and that our community will not stand for domestic violence. If you or someone you know is in an unsafe relationship, please call our 24-hour helpline at 255-NEWS, and please join us at our candlelight vigil. And we thank you, Town of Yountville, for your continued support to News and to survivors in the Napa Valley. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to call for public comment that this is the portion of public comment that is not on an item that is not on today's agenda. And if you could come up and just state your name for us.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Tony Walls. I work for PG&E under the regional service model. We recognize that the town of Yountville has experienced some reliability problems, electric reliability. So I wanted to have an open house at the community center on October 29th, where we can have members of the community come in and speak with us about the upgrades to our systems that we're making, as well as modifications to the system to reduce the number of outages that are occurring in town.
And the time of that meeting on October 29th?
It'll be from 5 to 7 p.m.
5 to 7 p.m. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for putting that together. I think our community will be very happy to hear about that. We'll make sure that I think Councilmember Reeves will be announcing it at the Allied Council up at the Veterans Home tomorrow as well, too. All right.
Look forward to engaging the community.
All right. Thank you very much for coming and putting that together. Any other public comment on items that's not on today's agenda? Nope. Seeing none.
Mayor?
Yes?
Do you think we could clarify where that town hall will be held? Is it Schmidt Hall or is it the community?
Community
center?
Hall.
Community Hall.
Main Community Center. Main Community Center, folks watching TV Land on Washington Street. All right. Thank you very much for coming by. Let's move on to our consent calendar. We have a pretty small one this week, only 5 items. And before anything, yes. Yes.
Just to make a quick edit for the record for attachment 2, minutes for the special session, the study session. If we could please correct the spelling of Sharon Stensis's last name for the record. Thanks.
I will note, is that 2 A's in the last name? Is that the correction needed?
There's a missing E.
Oh, thank you. Noted.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So those 5 items. First, before I ask for a motion or any discussion, is there any public comment on our 5 items on our consent calendar today? Seeing none, I will bring it back to a council. So can we get a motion and a second, and then we can discuss anything council would like?
Move approval of the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to bring it back. Any council discussion on any of our 5 items on the consent calendar? Seeing none, we'll voice vote. All in favor of approving today's consent calendar, say aye. The ayes?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we've just approved our consent calendar for today's meeting. And we have no guest presentations and a public hearing. So the public hearing, we are going to introduce and waive the first reading of an ordinance that could repeal and replace certain sections of the Yountville Municipal Code. And before we get, well, I think the very next thing we would like to do, I want to open the public hearing. And I think we see the planning director, Aaron Heacock, sitting up here. So, but Brad, are you going to introduce this item or just turn it over to Aaron? All right. So, Aaron, if you could give us a staff report.
Sure, just a brief report. So the California Building Code is updated and adopted by the State Building Standard Commission every 3 years to take advantage of advances in research, testing, and new materials, methods, and technologies, and to apply minimum safety standards consistently throughout the state of California. Each California town, city, and county is required to adopt the building code. In addition, the town may adopt certain local amendments to the provisions of the codes which are reasonably necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens in Yountville. However, a recently adopted state law prohibits new local amendments to the codes except in specific circumstances, which include local amendments previously in effect, such as the local amendments before you this evening. And so this ordinance includes local amendments to the codes that were filed and in effect as of September 30th, 2025. And those local amendments specifically prohibit the use of new wood shingles and shake roof and exterior wall assemblies, and also provide more stringent requirements for fire sprinklers and operational permits for tents that are larger than 200 square feet. And I do have Mike Zimmer from BPR, who BPR is our contracted building services, in attendance this evening or this afternoon. And he's available to answer any specific questions you have about the building code. And with that, concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and take the other presentation, then we can get any discussion from the public or the council, and figure out where we're going to direct them to, because the other one might just answer your question. I'm not sure. So who's giving the presentation?
Mike, he doesn't have any presentation. He's just here if you have any specific questions about intricacies of the building code that you have. So.
Great. Okay, so we do have some questions from the council. Councilmember Tripp, would you like to go first?
This might be one, it's kind of a nitpicky question, but, and so you may not have an answer, but I think the Yountville Code says no stucco houses, no stucco finishes. Has that been changed? And the reason I know that is because when I was on ZDRB, we went through this question with somebody who wanted to have a stucco house.
I believe that's a development standard requirement and not a building code requirement.
Not a building. So this is just building codes.
Correct.
Okay.
Councilmember Knight, question.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just curious. I know in one of the past Cal City's policy committees, the state was looking to extend and not update. So is this 2025 update are there changes to it than the 2023? I know there were some attempts to extend the current building standards code for 6 years to skip a cycle or something, but did that not occur? Is this a new update or?
So that did occur, and so our next one, instead of being 3 years from now, will actually be 6 years from now.
Okay. All right. So what we approve now, we won't see this again. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Gary can speak to this. I suppose that there could be amendments at the state level that could have an effect on this, but outside of that.
Yeah, there two times there could be further amendments. The state could do so, but also you could do so. So the planning director alluded to this. Normally, your local amendments have to be based on topographical, geographical, or climatic reasons, and that's the standard that we've been applying for a long time. The state has now curtailed that. So now there's only 5 bases for making local amendments, and it's pretty narrow. Has to be for home hardening, has to be based on implementing a general plan policy that you have, has to be a pre-existing local amendment, and there's another one as well. So it's very restricted now, but theoretically you could amend this at any time going forward too, not just when you adopt it, but we'd have to think through those exceptions and whether or not you could do the amendment.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. With the home hardening and the change in what's acceptable for roofs, will this affect homeowners in a beneficial way for insurance policies and the town's rating for fire safety? How does that work?
I don't know the answer to that question. I would assume that it would be a benefit for insurance for sure. I don't know about our fire rating though.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in the process of, I know obviously the fire department's not here, but we are in the process of looking at our ISO rating. I don't recall if there's a lot of points and a lot of criteria that go into that. So we can follow up with that, and I can ask the fire department if this changes things.
Be a point in favor of. And then with the tents, the changes that will be coming down, do we communicate that with the rental companies and with the resorts? I mean, so they don't have to go through the frustration of applying and then being rejected and...
Yeah, and so this isn't a change. We're just carrying forward amendment that we've had going. So this will be standard operating procedure that they're all used to.
Okay, Thank you very much.
And I assume ZDRB is taking a look at these changes to just for their edification.
No, this did not go before the ZDRB.
Not for approval, but they're aware of it.
I believe, yeah, they should be aware of it.
Okay, all right, good. Want to just make sure they are. So let's see, Councilmember Tripp, another question?
And maybe I misunderstood. So the change that the legislature has mandated that we adopt this building code, so we don't really have a choice. In it, the change required us to eliminate our previous deviations, in other words, amendments to the building code, and then we have to start over. Or I wasn't quite clear on your last comment, Gary, about the basis for deviating from the state code.
Yeah, no, sure. Happy to expand on that. So if there was already a local amendment to the building code that was in effect, it can stay and continue to be in effect. So all of your current local amendments are in your code in Title 15. They will stay there. They're unchanged. So for this adoption, we're just adopting the new 2025 building code and keeping all of the same local amendments because that's what the state has required that we do.
Okay. And then my other question was the ISO rating, that just applies to the town buildings, correct? It's not the overall building code for all of Yountville.
No, the ISO rating is really a rating that gauges your ability to, I guess, prevent and then fight fires.
Okay.
And so it's there's a lot that goes into it, including your water supply. I will check to see if, obviously everyone in the state is adopting the same code, so it would apply to all. But there is, sort of these different policies that give you points as it relates to, hardening. So I'll follow up, but it's a separate thing, and I don't think at this stage of our process of analyzing it that it would make a difference.
Yeah, I was just curious. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Reeves.
Another explanation. I thought I read somewhere in this that we are adopting California Green Building Standard codes while we're doing that. So we will have access, or we can prescribe that with this adoption.
That's correct. That's part of this adoption.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, all the questions from council are done. I'll go ahead and ask the public if anybody would like to come up and make a comment on this public hearing for our building codes. Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public comment and close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for, first I'd like to ask for a we're going to approve and waive the first reading of this ordinance, and we'll get a second, and then we'll have discussion before we have a button vote instead of a voice vote today. So who would like to make the motion?
Mayor, I move that we introduce and waive the first reading of ordinance number 25-538, repealing and replacing certain sections of the Yountville Municipal Code, Title 15, to adopt by reference the 2025 California Code of Regulations Building Standards Code, Title 24, Parts 1 through 12.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the council before I call for the vote? I just want to say it's great we're doing this now. I know we've got quite a big project that's going to be occurring all around us on this property, so quite timely, and we're going to be ready for that. So I have no issue approving what the state is asking us to approve. So any other discussion, comments? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and call for the button vote. So are we ready?
The vote is open.
Thank you.
That passes unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. So we all expect the second reading to be on consent in the first meeting in November. Is that what we're expecting? Our town attorney is shaking his head in the affirmative. So, all right, thank you very much. Let's move on to our first and only administrative item for today. We are going to consider adopting a resolution approving a budget adjustment for fiscal year 25-26 for Capital Projects Fund 50. And I see our finance director. I guess I can still use that title with your other title as well, since I remember it. So, Brad, any introductions, or are we going to turn it over to the director?
Introduce Celia King, our Administrative Service Director.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Town Council. And also just noting that financial analyst Kyle Batista is also here. He has been diligently tracking all these numbers and prepared the staff report. So before you today is a request for a budget adjustment in the amount of $601,204 in fiscal year 25-26 to Capital Projects Fund 50 for the Yountville Commons project. Within the staff report, we provided the financial history of the Yountville Commons project and outlined the decision points of when the Town Council approved budget and budget adjustments via resolutions to accommodate the expenditures for this project. This budget adjustment request came about due to the results of the fiscal year 24-25 activity. As you see in the blue table in the staff report for fiscal year 24-25, the project in Fund 50 ended the year with about $884,000 of budget that was approved but not spent. A portion of this amount came forward into the new fiscal year as of July 1 by way of purchase order rollovers. So a purchase order rollover, or a purchase order, is essentially approved budget that has been encumbered or earmarked for a specific vendor to complete a specific project or portion of a project. If a purchase order is not fully used up by the end of the fiscal year and the project is still ongoing, the purchase order automatically rolls forward. And this moves the remainder of the approved budget from the prior fiscal year into the new fiscal year to allow for the project to be completed. And this is a key mechanism for the funding of projects, as they may cross over one or two or sometimes multiple fiscal years, as the Yountville Commons project has. In the case of the Yountville Commons project for fiscal year 24-25, $601,204 was the amount of the remaining budget that did not automatically roll forward via purchase orders. It is now available within the fund balance of Capital Projects Fund 50. So staff is recommending that the Town Council approve a budget adjustment to reassign this amount back into the Yountville Commons project budget in current fiscal year 25-26. The green table in the staff report for fiscal year 25-26 shows that should this budget adjustment be approved, the total budget for the Yountville Commons project between both Capital Projects Fund 50 and the Measure S Fund 71 will be about $1.7 million, which should carry the project through the remainder of the planning phase. The final table on the last page of the staff report categorizes all the Yountville Commons expenses since the acquisition of the property through September 26, 2025, so that's current fiscal year. The category of planning and project management are where most of the current expenses are housed as we keep moving towards sequestration. And this includes the cost of the on-call agreements that the Town Council approved in June that are being utilized. So with that, please let us know if there are any questions the town manager or I or Kyle can answer.
All right, thank you very much for that report. We have some questions from the council. Councilmember Tripp.
First of all, I'd just like to thank you and Kyle for such an excellent report. I really like the tables because it's such dense information, the budget, that when you have it laid out clearly, the last two tables were really nice, the green and the pink. But my question is, I'm looking at it from a kind of high-level perspective, the total budget. So I was looking at the pink table, and it indicates the total budget is $14,945,000. But then when I look up, when you look at it as a whole, what we've budgeted all in, and I assume that includes this year. Mm-hmm. How is it then that the adjusted budget in the green table is $2,063,000? Are we basically increasing the budget? Do you see what I'm saying? The column that says adjusted budget in the green box, adjusted budget is $2,063,733, and then when you look in the pink box, which is since its inception, the budget is all in 14 million. So I'm just trying to understand, if I stood back and I said, putting everything we spent together, which is the coral box, what is the budget?
The current budget in the current fiscal year is in that green box.
So what is the pink box? The total budget since inception is bigger than 14 million, right? Because that's not really the total budget since inception.
So that's cumulative. So over all the fiscal years that it had crossed,
right.
What the budgets were for those fiscal years added together.
Right. So the pink is everything all in, all fiscal years, including this year. I had asked you about that. So why would the pink box not be the same as the adjusted budget? Because you couldn't be saying we're going to pay $2 million this year, 25-26, because, is that next year?
That's this current fiscal year, July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026.
Okay.
That's what was approved.
Okay, so the all-in budget would really be the $2,063,000 since inception. If I was looking for a budget number since inception, what would that be?
That would be the...
In other words, what we spent so far and what we think we're going to spend. That's really what I'm looking for. If you put together what we spent so far and what we think we will spend through the end of 26, what number is that?
So that's kind of, and I apologize if I'm not answering this in a clear way, it's kind of a mix of the pink box and the green box. So the pink box shows what has been budgeted over the life of this project since inception.
Okay.
And then in the current fiscal year, what we really focus on is what the current fiscal year is, because prior budgets are closed. Yes, we have a total budget here, which shows historical information combined with current information, but what really is the focus is the current fiscal year, that budget of $2 million, adjusted budget, and then I would say what we think we're going to spend is that $1.7 million that will be available, and maybe the town manager can clarify.
So can I just ask you one more thing before you turn it over to Brad? Mm-hmm. So if I was going to put together what we spent so far, because I think you're putting it all for a bunch of tax reasons and financing reasons all in one bucket. We don't pay taxes, but yeah. And what we think we'll spend through the end of the fiscal year 26, what would that number be?
So in the pink box, the total spent is $13.2 million.
Okay.
The budget available is what we can spend through the rest of the fiscal year.
Okay.
And this does include the requested budget adjustment is the $1.7 million.
Okay. So if I was to say, if we were going to combine it, would I put the 15 million budget in the pink box with the 1.7? And I would say we're going to all in what we spent and what we think we'll spend would be 16.7 million?
The only amount that would be approved budget-wise is that 14.9 million.
What is the adjusted budget then, the 2,063,000?
Let me maybe help. So the green box is just fiscal year 25 and 26. So when you look at the adjusted number of 2.063, that is what has been budgeted in this fiscal year. What we have already spent in this fiscal year is the 359 to the right. So when you subtract 359 from 2063, you get 1.704. So 1.704 is what is available after the budget adjustment to spend in this fiscal year. Back to the earlier question, what have we spent to date? That's the 13.2 million. So 13.2 million through, again, you can look at the back where the acquisition and the initial and the interim and the planning. We've spent 13.2. We have 1.7 left in this fiscal year to spend to get through the fiscal year and all the planning and sort of the enhancements to the interim uses, all the work that we're doing now.
So I still don't understand, but I'll stop. But so the adjusted 25-26. We are budgeting $2 million for this year.
Correct.
And of that $2 million, does any of that appear in the box that says Yountville Commons project since inception, $14,095,000? Since inception could include this year.
Yes.
So we haven't laid, and this is not a criticism. I just want to make sure I understand. We haven't really laid out what I was asking. What have we spent so far, and what is left in the budget for all? Does anybody else understand what I'm asking? What have we spent so far, and what is left after today for the approved budget?
Yeah.
What would the total be?
So what we have spent so far is $13.2 million. If you look at the pink box, what we have available is the 1.7.
Okay.
If you're trying to reconcile the green and the pink, the money that is in the adjusted budget column, the 2.063, is in, but it's obviously Fund 50 fund. It's in those 12.8 and $400,000 numbers.
So it's in the 13
plus the budget available. So you have to look at what budget's available, which is the 1.7, and look at the 13.2. You have to then again look at what was actually spent in this fiscal year, which is the $359,000. And that, subtracting that from the 2.063 gets you to the 1.7 number, which is what's available. So the grand total of everything is the 15 or the 14.945.
Okay, so that does include the $2 million we'll be planning to spend this year. That's what I was trying to find out. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
All that being said, so we have the $1,704,000, and we've got a lot of time to go before the end of this fiscal year. Can you do an overview of what projects we have coming up, and is this enough money by the end of June 2026?
Well, there's always obviously unforeseen costs.
Correct.
But, most of this money will go into the planning component, which is all the CEQA work that's underway, which we anticipate getting before you by the end of the year. So Aaron has been, full steam ahead with what we call the entitlements, which includes CEQA and zoning and all of the sort of the land use approvals, if you will. So that'll be before you. So when we get to that point, there's always a question of do you need more information, et cetera. So that's, a big component of that. The other part of it, as we work through the the design build process, you have this question of what they refer to as bridging documents or design criteria. So this is how far does the design team take the construction documents such that we can award a contract to a design build team. And that's really a big question mark. In my view, we have enough money for sure. I'm actually hoping that some of the 1.7 you have available can transition into a construction budget. But I won't promise that today. This is where we will talk to you probably in February about kind of your options for funding phased construction.
Okay.
But those are the two primary needs, is to finish the planning from an entitlement standpoint and to further the design criteria or the bridging documents on a construction.
Bridging is kind of bringing both of the needed language together in the plans that
Well, it's getting the construction documents far enough along that we can get a strong best value bid, so we know exactly what it's going to cost to construct the phases as we sort of outline whatever the phases are. You know, concurrently, by the way, this is paying for our financial advisor to look at our bonding capacity, to look at kind of the question of how much we could spend. That's not a significant expenditure. I mean, truthfully, I think when we approved the FA's contract, it was like $100,000, something to that effect.
But that's out of this $1.7 million as well, in PlaceWorks, which we just approved.
Yeah.
Too. Okay.
And meanwhile, you know, we'll continue, like Schmidt Hall and Yountville Fit, we need to do some upgrades to the bathrooms. There's some issues with the bathrooms. So we can continue to actually enhance some of the interim uses. You know, we're looking at enhancements to the dog park, or how we're going to work with the dog park, with the farm stand. So all of those things also can come out of this budget. And, you know, that's where I think a majority of it, if you flip and look at the last chart, it was hard to categorize these as much, but I think that was the other way to look at it that I think people wanted to understand. I would tell you a majority of what we're going to do will be in the last column, which is the planning and project management, which does include these bridge documents. There could be a little bit of money on the interim use stuff to clean up some issues. But really, everything that we're doing now is to move towards this idea of giving the council options for the building phase.
Okay, thank you. And I also want to commend Celia and Kyle on the reports. I know taking financials out of software systems and creating them in reports that translate to readability is a challenge and takes multiple iterations. So thank you both.
And Councilmember Reeves.
Thank you. I also wanted to say thank you for these charts. I feel like I don't know, are we calling it the pink box or the coral box or whatever? I feel like that really offered that high-level view, because it does say we budgeted the 14,945, we spent the 1320, and now we have the 1.7 to continue on with the projects as we see them already begun, right? So it feels like the numbers that are in that table are quite specific and quite self-explanatory. And I think where confusion reigns is trying to meld all of those separate tables together, because that's why you separated them, I guess. So, and I also appreciate the last one, because that really shows exactly what the money went for so far. And I think our community wants to know that and needs to know that. So I feel like this was a really great update for the community and for the council. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I will just say, to Celia's credit, the fiscal year stuff is what's hard, and I think it's not because we want to do it, it's because the auditors and GASB sort of forces us to do it. So when you get into, rules and audit and so forth, this is where it gets really, we've talked about through GASB 54, kind of this unassigned, assigned, restricted, committed, unspendable. I think those are the 5 categories. They are very, very specific about how those things work. And so every fiscal year is sort of a snapshot. And again, if it's not encumbered, it doesn't roll over. Therefore, you have to roll it over. And this sort of begs the confusion, because you can't be 100% accurate on exactly how much you're going to spend in a fiscal year. You do your best through budgeting. So then you have this point in time, and we're just completing the audit. And I will tell you, without giving the preview, because the audit comes in December, the auditors were very, very impressed with all the work that Celia and Kyle did. So that's always great. The most important 2 words in the city manager manager is no findings, which means, you have a clean audit. So that's the reason you have to do that, just so you know. It's not because we try to play hocus pocus with funds and numbers.
I just really wanted to, if we do spend all of the 1.7, and now that we're all talking the same numbers here, and by the end of, or the middle of 2026, that really puts us at less than, just a little bit under 15 million. So I just want to remind everybody where we kind of started. We started with spending 11.5 to purchase the property and get it all cleaned up and ready to go. That money wasn't borrowed. That money we had on hand. That was saved in different ways from many years past. And even the additional 3.4, if we spend all of the 1.7, I just think it's quite remarkable where we've come and what we've got done, because even for that 3.4, which we haven't even spent all of it yet because we haven't spent the 1.7, we had all of our initial design, enormous amounts of, and this costs money too, the public outreach, the meetings, the cups of coffee, all the open houses, those aren't, that wasn't no cost. That's all probably rolled in there too. And the interim uses that we've been enjoying ever since. I think it's really, and as Brad just kind of explained, we have a fly up here, we hope that this will get us through the entitlements and the bridging docks, maybe a little left over for construction docks. We've hired, as Brad mentioned, and paying for our finance people to kind of look at this. We've already gone through, I think, all the design build reviews, and those, with our public have really kind of helped. So there's really been, sometimes you don't really see a hole dug back there in that big lot back there, but a lot has gone into it. So, and I know Brad said the Napa Register has reached out to him. They called me this morning for asking a few questions. So this will really be going out to our public and the public outside of Yountville as well about, what we're doing. So I just really kind of wanted to give my summary of just where we've kind of come with really the way I look at it once we bought it for $3.4 million. Boy, I see some of my neighbors redoing their houses and what they're spending, a couple $1 million on these things. So I think this to me is quite remarkable. So thanks for everything the staff is doing. This is on top of running our town. This wasn't done. Nothing's taken off the list. This is added onto the list. So let's continue with any statements. Councilmember Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank Financial Analyst Batista and Director King for your excellent report. If the council agrees, I think it would be of great use to somehow, as a part of the Yountville Commons documents on our website, to include this and add to it as you go. I think it's very beneficial. It explains the process, and maybe my one suggestion would be on all these different charts to give them numbers as in chart 1 or chart 2, because I printed out this and I got pink on this paperwork, but on my computer that chart is a light purple. So maybe numbering these so as you're talking about them in your reporting, that will be easier for people to reference back to them. But I just, as a mayor, and all the council members have said that I think we have to understand we are investing in an invaluable property in this community, a property that will provide workforce housing and many community uses. And we're in this whole process to date already have actively opened up community uses that we're all benefiting from. So I think that when we just look at the opportunities and where we've come from the beginning, now we're at a point that I think with the town managers it's saying is that by early next year, with the funds we have spent, we will already have community uses that we're using, but then we'll be able to make a smart decision about where we go next. And so that, as this document shows and all the resolutions that you've included, every step of the way we've been concerned about the expenditures and the appropriations as we've gone along, and that we'll just have a community meetings after the first of the year where we'll just talk about where we take this project and how we will benefit from it for years to come. But the questions of the next steps will be provided by this information and what we're investing. So I look forward to that. And I think many people in the community have looked at where we have come so far and also look forward to great opportunities on this parcel in the years to come. So thank you.
Comments, Councilmember Tripp?
I wanted to say it is quite remarkable, as the mayor alluded, that we had this amount of money to go ahead and invest, which was really a wonderful thing. I was trying to kind of back into the $3.5 million that I think the mayor was mentioning. So if we have a total budget of, so far we spent $15 million is budgeted, and we spent 11.5 to buy it. We've spent 3.5 million apart from the purchase price, and just about $1 million of that has been in the planning and project management. So the million cups of coffee, that wasn't all the million cups of coffee, but it was not, and it won't be an insignificant amount. But I wanted to ask the town manager, and I totally agree it's an investment, and I have been asking a lot of questions because when I make an investment, especially as we look forward to the investment, I like to make sure I know what the finance people call the return on investment when I make an investment, and it is an incredible investment and opportunity. So the ROI will depend a little bit on what the costs come out to be and what the long-term impact on our general fund is. But I wanted to ask the town manager two things. One is you mentioned doing more, and it's a great table that shows how the 15 million has been broken out. The $1 million for planning and project management, and about 780,000 for interim uses, which I'm guessing would be like the Yountville fit. So of the 1.7, just if you could, I guess my question would be, do you see most of that going into planning and project management, which is all the on-call consultants primarily going forward that we approved in May or June? Or do you see that as being actual improvements over at the like Yountville Fit or whatever else you need to do? How would you guesstimate that will come out?
Yeah, I mean, the grand majority, the majority would definitely be in planning and project management. Okay. You know, and I think in three categories, again, like entitlements, you know, I'll call it bridging documents, which is the construction piece, and then the financial advisory services. Okay. So that'll be a majority of it. Yeah, I mean, we're looking at, you know, obviously the interim uses will stay to be the 5 uses. We're not proposing a new interim use, but I think enhancements, we've done a few little enhancements to Schmidt Hall. You know, we painted it. There was some issues. The bathrooms are the biggest problem, I will have to say. So we're trying to come up with a solution where it will stand the test of time, but that we have really separate bathroom for Yountville Fit and Schmidt Hall, so that when the camps are there, you know, we don't have, and also we have grown-up fixtures, like there's definitely been complaints about the height of the toilets and those sorts of. So we're that would be, to me, the biggest portion of enhancing the interim uses would be however we figure out the bathrooms. Everything else is just, you know, sort of little touches. We're also, you know, working with the farm stand, and, you know, there's issues that we need to resolve over there as well. We are hoping, and I know the dog park's, you know, near and dear to your heart. You know, we're hoping to move it once. I mean, this is kind of, there's a really good plan for the new dog park. There are definitely some issues with the existing dog park. So, you know, I don't want to invest a ton of money since it will move. But when can we move it becomes kind of this question that the team's been working out. And it gets into things like grading and, you know, things that we don't want to prematurely move it. So behind that, I guess the garden, you know, I know there's another grant that's being put into the Imagine Yountville. We're not seeing any need for funding there. And I think those are the 5. I named them all, yeah. So I would say, again, majority is going to go into moving the ball forward so that we can come to you with options. And I feel strongly we will have, hopefully, a good portion of that money available for you to transition into the building phase so that it doesn't all need to be spent. It's available if we need it, and if you all want to maneuver and get some additional analyses, et cetera. But the goal would be to have some of that money carry into whatever you are approving for phase 1 of the project.
Yes, I would. It'd be great if you could look at the bathrooms at Yountville Fit, but it's still a wonderful facility, even if you have to navigate the restrooms. So, but going to the dog park, just really quick, I think what you're saying is there was some thought of splitting up the dog park, and I don't disagree that it makes sense to an active and passive to wait, but I think that's sort of what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's
Okay.
exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other staff presentations or informational reports on item number 12? We're moving on.
Did you take public comment, or did you?
I did not take public comment.
Did they
We have
adopt the resolution?
public comment, please.
And then we do have a resolution as well.
Oh, there is a resolution.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for reminding me.
Thank you for the opportunity, Alan Tencher. A nice report, as just echoing what everyone else said. A couple thoughts. I've tried to stay close to this project, and 11 million purchase price, 500,000 for upgrading the existing facilities, and I think a lot of people will be surprised by the $15 million where we are now, but I fully understand. I think it is money well spent, but I think the more communication that can be had as we go forward and where we are right now with citizens, so they don't say, wait a minute, the last number I remember was $11 million, and now we're here at $15 million. So I think that would be useful. And then the one question that I have is where, or do these numbers, I don't think they are because I think they're capital numbers, where does staff time show up in these numbers? Because my understanding is that the purchase of this property was used as justification for one full-time employee, I believe in Public Works. So where is that being tracked, and is it part of these numbers? So thank you.
Want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So it is not being tracked in the capital numbers. You're right. Those are operating costs. John Ferns can speak to this, but I will tell you that even before we acquired the school site, they were wanting this extra position. And, there's always kind of, competition going on amongst, the departments in terms of positions. But beyond just adding the position, just so you're aware, what we were able to do was we were able to assign 2 people to facilities purely. And prior to that, those 2 employees were sort of working both in facilities and in what we call parks, which is, landscape grounds, et cetera. So adding the position, which was a position to parks, actually allowed us to have 2 two-person crews to do just parks and 1 two-person crew to just do facilities. So, and I agreed with John that this would have been this is a much better structure for Public Works. It did give us capacity, which gives us the ability to add the workload, but it also just has helped because now we have 2 individuals that are just doing facilities, and we have redundancy on the park side.
Thank you for answering that for us. And so with that, I would like to request that I get a motion and a second for our resolution that's going to take care of our budget adjustment that we're here today for. And then we will also, after that, do the button vote.
Well, I will move adoption of resolution number 25-4392, approving a budget adjustment of $601,204 in the fiscal year 25-26 to Capital Projects Fund 50 for the Yountville Commons Project, CF-0046.
Okay, thank you.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments from the council or discussion on the motion on the floor? Councilmember Tripp.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was voting.
Oh, okay.
Done.
All right. Do we have any further discussion? I see nobody lighting up my box here. So with that, we're going to ready to vote?
vote.
All right.
That passes unanimously.
All right. Thank you, everybody. So we've just passed our budget amendment for the Yountville Commons project. Thank you very much, staff, for lots of numbers that we actually are going to go away and we understand. So thank you. Success. Okay, staff presentation and informational reports.
I'm going to skip over Celia since she just gave a report, and
I was going to start with Hillary.
I'm going to look at Sam. Yeah,
Okay,
sorry,
here
Sam.
I go. Good afternoon, Council. Your Parks and Recreation Director, Samantha Holland. And just a couple brief updates. You will see lots of children at Yountville Commons on Friday. There is a day off school, so we have a fun club all day that day where we have children on site, so that's always fun. I reminded you last time, but again, for the public, on October 21st is our wellness fair, where we also offer the flu shot clinic in partnership with Napa County Public Health. And we'll have about 12 other partners there, all health and wellness related, to share information. And then on October 25th, which is Saturday before Halloween, we have our Halloween Carnival at the Community Center from 2 to 4. And that's great for all ages, but mainly focused for children under 10 and their families. So that will be happening. And we're also going to be promoting an event going on at the Veterans Home that day, right before our event, where they are actually encouraging the public to come. So you'll see some information that will help share for that. But it's a really nice, I think, their way of tiptoeing into inviting more public on site. So inviting children in costume and their families to come up. So we'll help them to promote that. And I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Aaron Heacock, Planning and Building Director. Mayor, quickly to your question earlier, if the ZDRB doesn't know about the building code update, I will make sure that they do. And I think everybody's probably seen Le Labo by now, and I just wanted to let everyone know that that was authorized using our TUP process. So that was the first item used using our new temporary use permit process. Wanted to let you also know that we continue to work with Chichio's and Ponchios on the Washington Street activation. We actually met with Chichio's representatives this morning to go over some things. So that is moving along. Hopefully we'll be wrapped up sooner rather than later.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. John Ferns, Public Works Director. Quick update on the Washington Street Corridor project. The biggest information right now is the four-way stop sign at Washington and Weber went active yesterday. And so that is now a four-way stop sign. The contractor has been diligently working on the asphalt impressions. There should be wrapping up Madison intersection tomorrow, we hope. The striping subcontractor will begin working tomorrow, so the final striping will begin to go down starting tomorrow. And we intend on finishing the other miscellaneous features before the Halloween block party, including some amenities to the Ponchas, Chinchios, sidewalk frontage. And then we've had a couple questions about this today, so I'll bring it up. A contractor working on behalf of the town is currently clearing the culvert underneath Mulberry Street for Hopper Creek. And so that is a town effort, a contractor hired by the town that's doing that work. And with that, I'll hand it to Hillary.
A lot of fun festivities happening in Yountville this month.
Hold on one sec, because I think Councilmember Tripp had a question for John.
Oh, I mostly just wanted to thank and compliment Public Works for thinking ahead with the Mulberry Street. I wasn't sure if that was the flood control or the town, but we are very lucky to have such a a really diligent Public Works Department under John Fern's supervision and direction. It's one of those things that when the toilet's flush and the water runs and it's beautiful water, and when you read next door, you realize not everybody has that luxury of nice water. Plus, everything looks so beautiful. It really brought to mind how much I appreciate Public Works and how frequently we all take for granted the things that just work because we don't have anything to complain about. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, I would just add to John, and thank you, Councilmember Tripp, because I would echo that, and I feel like our crews just are constantly one step ahead. And flooding, obviously, is a big issue. And in that light, you will see, I think, this week or next, Oakleaf Spillway Project.
Starting next week, yes.
Yeah. Do you want to explain that?
So starting next week, I can't remember, I think I talked about this last meeting, but perhaps not. Starting next week, you will see where Hopper Creek flows into Oak Circle has become such a regular occurrence. We are now going to formalize that and build what we're calling the Oak Circle Spillway. But essentially, it will be a pathway for the water to travel. It's not going to change the amount of water that goes down Oak Circle, but it's going to take away the temporary nature of us having to remove those fences and put up the security tape until the next storm, and it'll clean up the general area and make it more functional for the frequency of the water flowing into Oak Circle. And so that work will begin starting next week and carry into the coming weeks towards the end of October.
Yeah, it's a very small thing, but I think it's been a big issue with the community. And I think it's a good transition over to our communications clerk, because I know Jason has been working with Public Works on also, because we put a reader board out there, and it's sort of like, hey, if you want to park outside, park at your own risk. We're going to have a much more specific alerting system that will, allow people to make that judgment call. So I know that we're working together on that. But I think this is, again, not a big CIP project, because all you're going to see is some rocks and a little bit of concrete, where it will also filter some of the debris that sometimes can clog the fence and create other issues. But I think by having a collaboration between the two departments and being able to put something on our website where you can actually look at it from your screen or your phone, what have you, will be an enhancement that we intend to implement this year. I know Jason's looking at me with worried eyes, like, haven't figured it out yet, but I do think this is not that hard in today's world of live cams and Wi-Fi and things that we can do that will just provide better tools for our community to make judgment calls based on, these things, because it is designed to overflow. This is why we said it's not flooding, it's overflowing. And now we will, in essence, have a spillway. Like you see, this is where you see on dams, they're designed to go into the spillway. This is, a very microscopic version of that. But it will, I think, be a useful tool for all of those that, live past that point, because that's, an area where it is concerning because, there's only one way in and one way out. And I do feel like it's been an issue since I've been here. So I'm glad that there's the cross-departmental collaboration that's creating a better system. It's not going to solve the problem, but it'll create a system that'll help a lot. So thank you to both of you. And with that, I'll have Hillary.
Before Hillary gets to talk yet, I also want to thank you for a lot of work done downstream of that specific area, too. All of the underground pipes that come out of the vineyard by the estate, I know were cleared out. And if we can keep the water moving, then maybe we won't have such a backup. But I also submitted a C-Click Fix concern about all of the graffiti that we're starting to see along the paths. And it's in the form of crosses, which some people might not call it graffiti. But it started out kind of this summer on some of the retaining walls, and it was light-colored chalk. So it had a different appearance, but now it looks like it's in walnuts, possibly, and staining. And there are crosses from behind Ad Hoc over the creek, in the park on our new pavement, and all the way to the connectors between Vineyard Park and Mulberry and beyond. So somebody is, whether it's, we walk our dogs so much, and a lot of people do, going undercover at night or early in the morning, and it's it's becoming unsightly because it's in that dark brown smear, and if it's staining, that's problematic. So I want to ask the public for their help too, to keep their eyes open for who could be doing this, because they have a lot of time on their hands.
Yes, and we clean it up when we see it, but we do need the public's help identifying that person. We are in cross-department collaboration. We're working with the sheriff department to try to identify who might be doing this and see if we can get it to stop. And
Every 5 feet.
yes. Yeah. We're not sure what they're using, and we're cleaning it off as fast as we can put it down. I need to check to see if that last round that you submitted was cleaned off
It looks
sufficiently.
like walnut stain.
Yes, or
which is-
charcoal maybe. I don't know. We're trying to figure it out, but we are aware and trying to do what we can, at least to clean it up. And if we can stop the person, that would be even better.
Thanks.
I would also encourage the public to report any sightings that they see on SeeClickFix of the graffiti, so we can clean it up.
SeeClickFix is a good app. You can get it at the App Store, and then you customize it for Yountville and share pictures, whether it's parking challenges or anything that's non-urgent. It's a great tool, and you get pretty immediate feedback from the town. So
And you can submit anonymously.
that too.
Okay, so I just wanted, if you haven't already heard about the Halloween block party from 3 till 10 p.m. on Washington, we would love to see everybody there. The festivities kick off at 3 p.m. and will go throughout the evening into the night. And there will, of course, be a dog costume contest. So I know there are lots of pets in Yountville. Get your costumes ready. Before that, on October 22nd, there will be a Yountville Blue Forum, which is an interactive cooking class. More information is available for that on our website. And then lastly, on item 8B, Council approved the cancellation of the meeting to be held on October 21st, so we will be adjourning to the November 4th meeting. Thank you.
All right, and I just want to make a final note that we now have another four-way stop in Yountville, right along Washington. And I want to thank the sheriff. As soon as it went up and became live, we saw the sheriff's vehicle out there. So the intent of the town is to actually enforce that four-way stop sign. So just wanting to make sure the public knows it's there. So come on by and take a look at it. So any other council comments? Councilmember Tripp?
Yeah, quickly ask Hillary, because most dogs will only tolerate a costume for a certain amount of time. So will there be a time for the dog costume party?
Yeah, let me see.
Or whatever?
Let me pull that up right now.
I mean, you don't have to tell me the exact time, but
Arrival, I'll give you a little rundown here. The arrival starts at 4:45, and the costume contest begins promptly at 5. And people and parties can register on site the day of. There's no pre-registration required. And the special red carpet rollout will happen for our furry friends.
Okay.
Just to clarify,
Reading from the website.
the dog has been known to drink beer, so is
Oh.
that permitted on the? No,
I will not contact PETA, but mine does as well, so you're not alone.
Yes, must be
Support
out of
local. Mad Fritz.
Out of a
Well,
recyclable
before
glass.
it drinks beer, I do have a reminder that there's the blessing of the animals the 19th from 3 to 4. So Carol can bless your dog.
And that will be in Veterans Park.
Veterans Park, thank you.
Okay. All right, let's, final item number 13, council external meeting reports. I will start off with MVTA, a couple things of note. First, I just wanted to confirm with our Public Works Director, John, that all your projects are included in the countywide transportation plan that the board is reviewing. Is that?
Yes, our staff has been meeting with them regularly along the way, and all of our projects are included in there.
Okay, so I think you can go on the MVTA website. There is a virtual meeting set for October the 21st. Also, Council Member McKee and I, we also received a report with some of the on-call transportation buses that, we have the Yountville B. The B ridership continues to drop, and they actually said, I push back on this, and I know the staff is also working with their staff that they might have to cut the hours and the days of the bees. So stay tuned for that and what maybe we can do to start mitigating that moving forward. And Councilmember McKee and I have a MVTA meeting next Wednesday. Councilmember Reeves.
I just wanted to report on the September 26th Climate Action Committee county meeting. It was, most of the agenda was aimed at sharing results from the public comment period on the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan. And I think in general, the comments from the community were positive on moving forward, and that they wanted it to move forward in a timely way. And though now there have been some late submissions from business interests who now want to challenge legally some of the items in the RCAP. So it's not clear what will happen, but we also have this all jurisdiction working group that is representatives from all the jurisdictions who are employees who can work together to look at the mitigation measures and sort of share how each jurisdiction might attempt some of the mitigation measures and which ones would be difficult and what would require cooperation and all of that. But it just seems like pretty soon, we are not having any meetings until December, but pretty soon I feel like the council needs to have some sort of a agenda item just talking about where we see ourselves in that picture. I think it can be distilled down into the critical areas. Yountville really only contributes about 2% of the greenhouse gas emissions that we're looking to mitigate. So our attempt at mitigating that might be just through, as we move forward with capital improvement projects, how we how we negotiate sustainability issues and how we decide to spend our capital improvement money. But just having some sort of a checklist on these capital improvement projects might be something we might be interested in talking about as a council. But I think the most important thing that came out of this meeting was a presentation by SCS Global Services, who have been working with the Napa Recycling and Diversion Program. And what came out of that study was a new algorithmic data, I don't know, what do you call it, crunching, that turns greenhouse gas emission percentages into sort of heat numbers that are observable at critical points like 2030, 2045, whatever, that really show how we might get the most bang for our buck out of investments in climate action. They were measuring composting, which an incredible difference in the amount of participation in composting and the reduction of heat in the atmosphere just doing that. 80% reduction. So it's like, okay, we could do that. That would be a thing. So I think keeping a pulse on the Climate Action Committee plan and what California says, and as we move forward as a community, I would like to see a little bit more discussion on the council level. So anyway, that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Tripp, do you have a
I just
comment?
wanted to add to that, since I'm also a representative. That was a great summary. We did get this week, in fact, just yesterday, and I was going to ask our town clerk a good summary of clarifying what the history of the RCAP is, and also some of the frequently asked questions. And I think Aaron probably got this as well. It would be great, I think, if we might be able to post that on the website. And in the interim, if people would like a copy, they could contact Pam and I, because it addresses some of the things that have really gotten people energized, and not necessarily in a positive way, about like the question, do homeowners have to replace appliances right away? No. But it's good to have all that clarified, so we're all at least starting from the same page. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
I'm happy to put a link to that site on our website. I think that would allow the information to stay current in case they make any updates on their end.
Perfect, perfect.
Okay. Now I am going to call for a motion to adjourn. We are adjourning our meeting today in honor and memory of Lois Riker, and I'd like to motion so we could adjourn to our next meeting, which will be the first week of November, on November the 4th at 3 p.m., and the time for our adjournment is 4:16 p.m.
I move to adjourn in honor of Lois. We miss her in the hood.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, good night, Yountville. It's a wrap. Thank you, everybody.